Welcome to Women Kicking Glass, the only radio show on OC Talk Radio dedicated to empowering women to be the best leaders they can be in any endeavor they choose. Patty Grimm is our host and interviews top women in a variety of fields to help women grow, learn, and lean in together. Patty has over 25 years of experience in primarily male-dominated fields in senior-level management positions. Patty is the owner of Advantage Training Limited, an organizational leadership team training company. She recently released her new book for women called Quiet Women Never Changed History. Be strong, stand out, and stand up. With the subtitle, Let's Go Kick Some Glass.
And that's what we're going to do starting right now. Welcome, Patty.
Hi, well, how you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good. Even though it's raining, it rains in Southern California. Everybody stays home, you included.
It is pouring buckets. You can hardly believe. Yeah.
Well, at least we need it, so I can justify it that way. But everybody gets so crabby, nobody wants to go out, everybody's mad when it rains in Southern California. It's hard to explain that to the rest of the world. They figure the heck with it.
Especially when it's freezing cold and it's and pouring snow and they've got to shovel the snow. We don't have to shovel right.
We don't do anything here, but people just figure, the heck with it. Sun will come out tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good. And we've got a great show today, and I'm really excited to have Rhonda Sher with us. And a couple of things that I wanted to say is that, this is the only radio show on Orange County Talk Radio by women, for women, about the issues they care about. Each week we'll be talking about things that women care about. And if you're in the corporate world, you're trying to climb the corporate ladder and get that promotion or pay raise that you deserve. Some of you may have decided you're going to leave the corporate world or maybe not even start in the corporate world, and you're going to start your own nonprofit organization. So we're hearing from a lot of great nonprofits that we support and care about. We'll also talk about social issues such as cyberbullying, human trafficking, and raising brave girls. My amazing guest this week is Rhonda Sher, and I met Rhonda a couple weeks ago, and I was absolutely amazed. I walked away from her presentation, immediately came home and made some changes to my LinkedIn profile, and my number of people looking at my profile actually went up. So Rhonda's the creator of the 2-Minute Networker, which is a concept, and she's author of the book, The 2-Minute Networker. She's become recognized as a national expert in networking, and she's also the author of the book, 2-Minute Networker, The ABCs of LinkedIn. I learned ABC, E, D, F, G, all the way down to Z when I met with Rhonda the other day. She also talks about, get LinkedIn or get left out. LinkedIn is now the place people go to connect with individuals. When people ask me about my website, many times I send it to my LinkedIn profile because it's more current and more up to date. She also does some great things about 52 ways to boost your business with business cards. She's an expert working with and teaching with business professionals in real estate and other industries about how to replace and eliminate the common cold call we all hate and create a warm handshake using networking with LinkedIn. She has a focus on helping real estate people and other professionals be able to generate more sales, increase credibility, add more clients, and take relationships from revenue all the way down to revenue simply using LinkedIn. Rhonda's got a great sense of humor, a very interactive approach, 20 years of experience on the forefront, and she's also a national known speaker. She's helped thousands of people, including me, double and triple their income, and so she's really an expert about writing your profiles, teaching others how to use them, generate an endless pipeline of qualified leads. Those of us who own businesses or work in sales all need to do that, and you won't be left out if you work with Rhonda. So, Rhonda, welcome today. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today, and tell us a little bit about you to start with.
Well, thanks, Patty. I'm so happy to be here. Wow, where do I start? Well, I actually started out in the legal field, believe it or not. I spent my first 20 years as a paralegal and a divorce mediator, which was kind of an interesting beginning, and then figured out I was a serial entrepreneur. I kind of joke, and I say to people the two keys to success in terms of, you growing your business are to do the two things that your mother taught you not to do. Talk to strangers and master the F word, follow up. So,
follow up is the F word now, huh?
Uh-huh. Or fun, whichever one you want. But for me, I've always been somebody that has been interested in people. I love meeting new people, and that's how I've grown every business, is really through networking. And so in 2005, I ended up writing my first book, The 2-Minute Networker. And from there, I really found my gift was almost being a relationship matchmaker, putting people together. And LinkedIn, when it came about in about 2007, I was one of the very early users. What I found is it was the perfect vehicle to take the online networking and the offline networking and marry the two. And so from both a personal and a business perspective, I've always found that it really isn't work. It's just meeting people, creating relationships, making introductions. And I found that my legal background really lent itself to LinkedIn because it really is researching and connecting the dots. Not any different, really, than what I did when I was doing research as a paralegal. And on a personal note, I have a kind of an interesting story. I was married for 28 years, got divorced, have 2 children, 25 and 27, and then remarried the man that I divorced about a year ago. So I
remember that.
Yeah, so I figure I'll write another book called From I Do to Undo to Redo.
So I didn't have to change my name. I met another woman the other day in a networking group that was had recently remarried her husband that she had divorced, and they got back together again. So it's not completely uncommon.
No, I figure the next book will be called From I Do to Undo to Redo.
Yeah, exactly. So why is it important for people who aren't really looking for a job to have a profile and to be on LinkedIn?
Well, the thing that most people think is that LinkedIn is where you go to look for a job. But in reality, we live in an age where we have a digital footprint. And statistically, if somebody were to Google your name and you didn't have a common name like Jim Smith, there's a 70% chance or better that you're going to show up on the first page of Google with LinkedIn if you have a profile. So one of the most important reasons that you want to be on LinkedIn is for the credibility factor. When you're on LinkedIn, that literally is the digital footprint that tells people who you are, what you do, why you're different, and it gives you the opportunity to put third-party proof, testimonials, that are much more credible than they would be if they were someplace else like a website. Because most of the time, if it's a written recommendation, you're going to be able to go over to that person's profile. And what I recommend is that you actually use an audio or a video testimonial. So the simple answer is it's for credibility, and it's also for anybody that's looking to grow their business. The relationships with the people you want to meet are most likely on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know that I still do a lot of work with Microsoft, even though I left them 3 years ago. I say I left to semi-retire and come back down to California from the really cold and wet Seattle. And when I came, and I still do work for Microsoft. So when I'm talking to their salespeople that are calling on enterprise customers or small and medium businesses, one of the first places I tell them to go to find out information about your customers on LinkedIn. You can find out where they went to school, what charities they support, where they worked before, because a lot of times there's a lot of turnover in some of these executive positions. And so if you're in sales and you're trying to find out, well, who is the VP of sales or VP of HR or who's the chief financial officer, you can go to LinkedIn and you can probably find somebody. You might even know somebody that now works at that company. But what you find out about your client are things you can use to build a relationship and not just connect with them to sell them something. But you might find out you both went to the same college, or you both belong to Make-A-Wish, or you both happen to be interested in golf or other kinds of things. Because all of that shows in your profile that doesn't show on a traditional resume if you're trying to find out something about a company or an individual.
You're absolutely right, and you really get it. That really is it. It's the old way before we had the digital world, when you went into somebody's office and you looked at the pictures and you might say, "Oh, is that your dog? You're a Padres fan, you're an Angels fan." You looked around the office, and that's where you started to develop rapport. Well, now you can look at that profile and do the exact same thing.
Yeah. So how can professionals really use LinkedIn to build those relationships and to find the kind of customers that they want to do business with? How can they do that using LinkedIn?
Well, the first thing they need to do is they need to make sure that they actually have a profile that is complete. And what I mean by that is that if they're going to go out and look for those relationships, you want to be dressed for the dance. You want to make sure that you have a professional picture, that you have a headline, that you have a background photo and a summary that's very complete, and that you have your contact information as well as all the other areas that you just talked about. Once that's done, the next step is identifying who it is that you want to meet. And LinkedIn has many features that allow you to search so that you can find those people. And in fact, just as you said, Patty, you can fine-tune it to the point that you might say, okay, maybe they have an interest in wine tasting. And you could even put that as one of the keywords that you're looking for so that when you make that connection, it might be, hi, on the invitation, hi, Patty, came across your profile on LinkedIn, noticed that we both went to, and you can put the school if we happen to share that, or we both have an interest in wine tasting, and we share common connections. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn and learn how I can be a resource for you. Now, if I sent that invitation to you, you read it, you looked at my profile, and my profile looked like what I like to call a CVS receipt, you know, the drugstore CVS.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they're really long receipts?
Yeah, it just keeps going and going. So you're going to look at it and say, wow, I think I want to get to know this person, and you're going to accept the invitation. So that's where the relationship starts. Now, how it goes from there is once you've accepted that invitation, I'm going to send you a thank you note. And I'm going to say, thanks, Patty, for accepting my invitation. I look forward to learning how I can be a resource for you. I'd love to have a 15-minute conversation with you. Here's a link to my calendar. Let me know if you're open to a call. Now, we just went from an invitation to a stranger to thank you for inviting me, and now we're going to have our coffee date on the phone. And we're going to discuss, again, it's going to go even further into what are the areas of commonality, because I'm not about selling, I'm about serving. And if I look at your profile, I could say, I love the title of your book, Women Kicking Glass, or whatever it happens to be, and I'm going to make it all about you. Now, where that's going to go, who knows? It may be that you want to introduce me to somebody, I want to introduce you to somebody, but we're starting a relationship. Now imagine that you do that with 3 to 5 people every single day. What is your network going to look like, and what is your net worth going to look like?
Yeah, and one of the things you said when we met was it's not about selling, it's about serving. So it's about connecting with somebody and seeing what you have in common with them and how you can help them and maybe how they can help you. But it's not about selling. And in fact, I even think you explicitly said in either one of your invites or conversations, you say, I don't want to sell you anything. I'd like to connect with you to see how we can help each other or how I can serve you. I think a lot of people make that mistake.
And it's a slow dance. And that's what I think most people misunderstand about LinkedIn. It's not, a quick hit. It's a relationship that you are developing, which hopefully you will take offline. And offline does not mean that we have to meet in person all the time. It could mean we're doing a Skype or a Zoom meeting. We're face-to-face. And once you develop a relationship, we know that we do business with people that we know, like, and trust.
Right.
So, and the other thing that you want to do is you want to stay top of mind with those people as well. So it's also, posting, putting updates, and commenting on what other people have written. You want to let people know that you've actually read what they put out there. You want to comment on it. There's so many ways to take advantage of LinkedIn that are underutilized for the professionals of the world. And it's just an amazing place that has limitless possibilities with all of the people that we all want to do business with.
Yeah, and you said something really subtle a few minutes ago, which I think a lot of people don't think about, and it's on my mind now since we chatted, is that if somebody accepts your LinkedIn request, send a thank you to them and say, thank you, I'd love to connect with you, and see how we can help each other, how I can be of service to you. I think a lot of people don't do that thank you part, and then so it just sort of, they end up collecting a lot of people, but they don't end up actually building a relationship, and I think that's a mistake. So with that, what are some of the do's and don'ts or mistakes and successes of a successful LinkedIn profile?
So the do's and don'ts. One of my favorite do's is in your summary, make sure that you put your contact information. Keep in mind that people are basically, they're scanning, they're reading very quickly, and they may not be connected to you, but they are reading your profile. So you want to make it very easy for them to pick up the phone and call you, send you an email, or click on a button and schedule a meeting with you using one of the calendar apps like Calendarly or Schedule Once. That's one of the do's. The other is to use rich text media. And what I mean by that is, and this is one of the little secrets that I share with all of my clients, when you're doing your profile, if you have clients that think you are great, ask them to do a testimonial for you in the form of an audio video. And the way that you phrase it in your summary is, I could tell you what my clients think of working with me, but don't take my word for it. Click below. And it's really a 90-second soundbite, but when they actually get to call you or they do business with you, they already have social proof. Two people that put their name, their business, their voice, or their video actually speaking about the benefits of working with you. So those are both do's and don'ts, because most people don't do that, and in fact, it makes you more credible and much easier to refer. The other thing that I would highly recommend in terms of your profile is make it complete, fill out all of the sections, and know your privacy settings. One of the biggest things that most people do that is in the don't list is they don't know how to use their privacy settings. So if I was looking for, let's just say I'm looking for an estate planning attorney, and I do my search and I put in San Diego estate planning attorney, it's going to come up with a search, and it may be that the first or second profile that I look at, just like on Google, because we're always going to go to the first page of Google, that person doesn't have their contact information, or maybe they're absolutely amazing, but their profile doesn't reflect it. Well, on the right-hand side, there's a little button that says People Also Viewed. So what will happen is the eye is going to go right over there, and if I'm looking at that profile and it doesn't jump out at me, it's written in third person, or it doesn't have the contact information, or it really doesn't tell me what I'm looking for, I'm going to jump over to who other people looked at and probably click over to that profile. Well, that attorney just lost business because he didn't change the privacy settings so that I could not look at other people. It's a simple privacy setting that doesn't allow you to view other people that do what you do. And that's a big thing that most people are not aware of.
Yeah, the other big don't, or I guess it would be a do, depending on how you look at it, is do have a professional photo. Spend a couple of bucks. I mean, I've got an amazing photographer that does amazing headshots, but get a real professional photo. Don't take a selfie. Don't have a picture of you on the beach with a pina colada in Mexico or the Caribbean. You need this to look very professional. You need to look, you showed some pictures that were almost probably inappropriate to talk about, but of people doing things they shouldn't be doing on a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, I had a call one day from a gal who couldn't understand why, you talk about the don'ts, why she was having such a challenge with LinkedIn. And I went to her picture. Now, she was about 26 years old. She had a picture of her and her sister at her college graduation holding up glasses of champagne. That was her profile picture.
Yeah. Too funny. Yeah. Interesting. Because when people are looking to hire you as a consultant, they're looking to do business with you, HR people all go to LinkedIn profiles. Recruiters go to LinkedIn profiles. They look at your picture. You look at what you're posting, the kinds of things that you're putting on there. So it's all critically important. We're going to take a quick break for a commercial in just a minute, but we're going to come back with Rhonda And we're always going to we're going to spend some more time talking about LinkedIn. What are the advantages or disadvantages of the free versus the paid version? Some tips for creating a successful profile, and how do you generate leads using LinkedIn. So we're going to dive deep in this in just a minute. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything. Your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened to thousands of the men, women, veterans, and young adults we serve at Working Wardrobes. What do we do to help? We provide career development services, life skills workshops, job skills training. We provide the perfect interview outfit, and we get clients placed in jobs. Call Working Wardrobes, 714-210-2460. Donate, volunteer, invest, hire.
When it comes to pioneers in their respective industries, we all know the Apples, Starbucks, and Trader Joe's of the world. In the realm of recruiting, Decision Toolbox is the industry's best-kept secret. With 90% of their business from referrals and repeat customers. For over 20 years, Decision Toolbox's U.S.-based team of recruiters, sourcers, professional writers, quality personnel, and tech support has perfected a Six Sigma approach to talent management. No matter the size of the project, Decision Toolbox delivers incredible results. A cost per hire less than half of what contingency firms charge, with the winning candidate presented in an average of 14 days, all with a 12-month candidate warranty. With results like that, Decision Toolbox won't be a secret for long. Visit us at www.dtoolbox.com for more information.
And now back to Patty and her guest.
Great. With me today, I have Rhonda Sher, who's an expert on LinkedIn and helping you build relationships, find more clients, get more sales, generate more income, all of those wonderful things. Rhonda, before we get too far, and we'll do this again at the end, how can people get in touch with you? I know to find you on LinkedIn, but what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way is actually just to send me an email. It's LinkedInDiva, LinkedInDiva @gmail.com, or they can call me directly at 760-515-2822. You never call yourself, right? So it's
right.
just 760-515-2822. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That would be great. Or they can even go to profiletogrofit.com, and I have a free report that they can get there.
Great. So I've heard that, since Microsoft, who I used to work for Microsoft, bought LinkedIn, what are some of the changes that have been made since they bought LinkedIn? I went in and made some changes after we met, like I added a background, I did some things on my LinkedIn. Need to check those privacy settings, though, make sure that's not happening. But what are some of the changes that have happened since Microsoft bought LinkedIn?
Well, the changes are starting slowly, and what they're doing is they're going to the interface that looks like your mobile LinkedIn. So we're no longer going to be able to do the advanced search feature the way you can currently. They've also taken away some of the features that you now see on the desktop version where you have interests and things like that. It actually looks more like your mobile version. And so it's cleaner. But by the same token, it's really driving people to, if they want to get very serious about it, to really using Sales Navigator as a tool for searching. You're not going to be able to tag the way that you can tag now with the older version, the desktop version. There's quite a few changes that are happening, and they're rolling them out very slowly, but they definitely have a huge impact in how we have been using it. So for many people, it's like going from a PC to a Mac. It's learning a new way of working with LinkedIn.
Okay, and so tell our listeners the difference between the free version, the professional version, and Sales Navigator.
So the free version, as it stands now, if you haven't changed over to the new interface, is actually a really great tool. What it doesn't do that both of the paid versions do is, number one, it doesn't tell you who's looked at your profile. Now, why is that important? Because if people are looking at your profile, it gives you a reason to reach out to them if you know who they are. And it might be as simple as saying, Patty, I noticed that you stopped by my LinkedIn profile. I looked at yours and noticed we share XYZ. It would be great to connect. Let's go from there. So it gives you a reason to know, okay, who's been looking at my profile? The other thing about the paid version, which I love, is we all can publish on Pulse, which is the publishing platform of LinkedIn. But when you have the paid version, you can now see who's looked at your post, who has liked it, who has shared it. And it gives you a reason to pick up the phone and say, Patty, thank you so much for commenting and liking and sharing my article. What did you like about it? And just like we talked about before, it's another area where we can now find commonality because you took the time to actually comment about my post. If I didn't have the paid version, I would not be able to see that. Now, the premium version does not have Sales Navigator, but it does have something new that LinkedIn has added, and that's the platform called Lynda, Lynda.com. Lynda.com is an amazing training portal where you can learn just about everything. There are so many courses there, and if you're not a paid member on the premium, it's $30 a month, which is still a great price. For what they offer, it's amazing. If you have Sales Navigator, which truly is searching on steroids, being able to save your leads, there's so many capabilities to Sales Navigator. The trade-off is you don't get the membership to Lynda.com. I could not tell you why LinkedIn did that, but what I would definitely suggest is that if you are in sales or you do serious prospecting, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, we gave it to all of our salespeople because it was absolutely critical for them to be able to find the right people they were trying to get in touch with.
Exactly.
So what are some of the best tips for creating a powerful LinkedIn profile? Let's review some of those and let's go into some detail on that because I know you said a full summary. I mean, I realized when I went back in after we met that I didn't have my phone number in my profile. Like what a silly oversight.
Exactly. So the first thing is to put that background photo, and I recommend that in that background photo, that's prime real estate. You want to put a phone number there, and you want to put the keywords of what people look for when they're searching for you. It's great to put a sunset or a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, but that's not going to get the attention of your prospect. So use that prime space, and one of my best tips to do it is literally go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com, and have somebody at Fiverr create that for you. That's really what I would recommend. It's very inexpensive to do it that way. You don't have to mess around with the dimensions. You tell them what you want, and for $15, $25, you get yourself a great background. And then in your profile, you want to make sure that your heading is also optimized. The secret, Patty, is to put yourself into the position of the person that's reading the profile and ask yourself, would I do business with this person based on the profile? Would I find this person easily? Or if you're not somebody that people are going to find, you're not going to look for your real estate agent on LinkedIn. Not going to happen. But Inman said that 43% of people that are selling their homes will check out their agent on LinkedIn before they actually hire them. So are you credible? How do you show up? The next thing in your contact information, make sure that you have a phone number that you're reachable at. Make sure the email is there. Make sure your links to the social media sites that you want to send people to, your website. Make sure all of that is correct. And in your summary, you want to make it very complete. Take advantage of using some of the bullet point symbols. There's a bunch of symbols you can use. Make it easy to read. Make it very much to the point, first person, and tell people who you are, who you're talking to, who's your target market. Why do people want to do business with you? What do other people think of you? What makes you unique? And put your specialties in, again, just to reiterate, your contact information. Use rich text media, very important, and don't make it all about you, because people want to hear what other people have to say about you. And then fill in the rest. You know, when you go in, you talk about your past job history. Make it complete. Put in, and you can actually repeat the information. That's where you don't get penalized. You actually get points. So if there's great information in your summary, put it in. If you're an entrepreneur, put it in, you know, where you, about what you do. One of the funniest things I see on profiles where it says languages that you speak. I see Russian, Spanish, and I'm like, I know this person. They speak English perfectly. And it doesn't say they speak English. So you want to look at it. Yeah, you know, you really want to look at it from the standpoint of, you know, does this make sense? And make sure it doesn't have any typos. That's probably one of the biggest things that will get you, because what it tells somebody else is, you know, you didn't really pay much attention to it. The other area as well are your recommendations, and I believe that if your recommendations are more than 2 years old and you don't have current ones, get rid of them. You know, if somebody said something about you 5 years ago, is it really relevant today? So you want to make sure that you keep your recommendations up to date. And one of the things that I look at when I look at a profile is I see somebody received 15 recommendations and they gave none. Well, what does that tell you? They're a taker, not a giver, because they didn't take the time to reciprocate. So you want to look at profiles from the standpoint of what are they writing about other people, and that's a great insight tool. You can actually look at the recommendations that somebody has given, and it'll tell you a lot about them. It'll tell you what's important to them, because if they actually wrote it themselves, it will tell you what they value. If it says attention to detail, high energy, whatever is important to that person, that's what they're going to write about in their recommendations, and you'll see a theme. And then finally, there's a section about contact information, and that's another place where you can put all of your information. Tell people why they should contact you, not just how to contact you. You know, if you're looking for an opportunity in, or whatever it happens to be. And again, make sure you put a phone number, put a link to schedule with you. And a little tip that I share with people is a lot of times people don't want to put their cell phone, because we do have a lot of people that call us and they want to sell us something. So get a Google phone number and use that there, because when you have a Google phone number, it'll actually screen for you. It'll tell you who's calling, and you can choose to take the call or let it go to voicemail. And it's also a way to know, if you're only using that number on LinkedIn, that the call's coming from somebody on LinkedIn. So it's a Google phone number, and there's a lot other tools that you can use as well, but it's one of my favorites.
So if you have a Google phone number, it's a different phone number. Does it then ring to your cell phone? Or
it does, absolutely.
Okay, I want to know more about that.
And it's free. It's, you know, you can just literally just put get Google phone number when you go into Google, and you get to pick the prefix. So, you know, a lot of times, like myself even, you know, I used to live in the San Fernando Valley, the Thousand Oaks area, so I have an 805 number on my cell phone. And even though I don't live in that area anymore, you know, if I give that phone number out, you know, people automatically think, wow, you live in the Ventura area? So I got a Google phone number because, you know, people just automatically look at the prefix and think that's where you live, you know, even though we keep our phone numbers. So you can get a Google phone number that reflects the area code that you want people to think you're in. And, you know, it's another way to use it. If you're doing business in another state, but you happen to be located somewhere else, go get a Google phone number with that prefix. Makes you seem local.
Yeah, my phone number has been 425, which is Kirkland, Seattle area, and I've had that phone number forever, and I recently went and bought a new phone to get a 949 number, which is Orange County, because people can say, well, you're in Seattle, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm in Dana Point. I'm in, you know, South Orange County. Right. The other thing you mentioned I did want to say something about, because I've used this as a tremendous resource, is Fiverr. So Fiverr is a site. It's Fiverr, I believe. And it's a site where you can get almost anything done. I've had them do my business card logos. They did the commercials that you hear before and after the radio start. I went into Fiverr and I said, I need a radio intro and extro. Here's what I want kind of the person to say. The woman nailed it the first time, and it was perfect, and I ended up getting it done like for a couple of days, and I think maybe $50. Or I've had them do stationery or logos and that kind of stuff. A lot of them are worldwide, so some of the people I've worked with have been in Sri Lanka, or they've been in the Philippines or someplace. So they're not usually local. This one woman happened to be local. But you can get amazing resource and stuff through them, and they can do just about everything for you. I haven't thought about doing them for getting my header for my LinkedIn, but I'll probably do that next.
Yeah, they're great for that, actually.
Yeah. So what are some tips about who to accept connection requests from, and how to send connection requests that make a difference? Because you get connection requests, and it just is a generic thing.
So that's a great question. Many people really don't know that on your mobile phone, and 44% of users of LinkedIn do use it from a mobile phone or tablet. And prior to, actually very recently, you were not able to personalize the invitation if you were sending it from a mobile device. Well, now you can. So the default invitation is, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network, and it has your name. That basically says nothing. It's just a click of a button. So the invitation should be personalized, because it tells somebody, I met you at, you were introduced to me, or if it's a total stranger, you put into that invitation, I came across your LinkedIn profile, we share XYZ. And the one thing that most people ask is, well, what do I put down? I don't know this person. I usually put colleague. You can put friend. And if you want to get away from the fear, there's a lot of people that say, oh my gosh, LinkedIn will throw you out if you get too many I don't know you. Because you have a choice. When somebody sends you an invitation, do you accept, do you ignore, or do you say, I don't know the person? What you can do, it's the elephant in the room, you can put in your invitation, if you don't want to accept my invitation, please just hit ignore, not I don't know you. And then basically you're asking them, you're saying there's no harm, no foul. And in terms of which invitations you accept, I look at the profile. If they're from a country that I can't pronounce, they don't have a photo, or it's a very incomplete profile and it's a default, I just hit ignore. If it's something that, if they send me a personal invitation and they have a profile that's, fairly complete, I'll accept it, knowing that I have my privacy settings set in a way that the entire world can't see who I know. So the only connections that people will see are the ones that we share. And that's why it's okay to accept connections when it comes to inviting people. LinkedIn does give you 3,000 invitations that you can send out for people to accept. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your inviting, that you're inviting people that you really do want to connect with. Now, you can uninvite people, and you can go back to LinkedIn and ask for more connections, and they'll give them to you, assuming you haven't violated any of their policies. But be somewhat discriminating in who you are accepting, and understand that there are people that have more than one profile, even though that's not what is really acceptable. And sometimes there are profiles that aren't really real. They're really not a true person. So you have to be a little bit discerning.
I had a situation where I actually accepted an invitation from someone, and it seemed like somebody kind of normal, and then I got back these very strange innuendos and comments, and I ended up reporting them to LinkedIn, but it was very, very inappropriate. It looked like a normal person. They were located in the South. It was very, very inappropriate, but once I did report it, it was taken care of immediately. So, and
you can also block, by the way. You can block people just like you can on Facebook. Yeah. So they do give you the ability to do that as well.
So how can professionals generate leads using LinkedIn?
So that's a great question, because that's one of the things that I get asked most of the time. How do I find leads on LinkedIn? And first of all, you need to know who you're looking for. The smaller the niche, the more you get rich. And so if you know who you're looking for, then it makes it that much easier to search. So you want to really know the industry. You want to know the title of the person that you're looking for. You want, if the more specific you can get, the easier it's going to be to find leads. So if you can narrow down your search to maybe it's geographic, maybe it's a title, maybe it's a specific company. Once you've done that, you can use either using Sales Navigator, which is really one of the easiest ways. You can do it that way, and Sales Navigator does a lot of the work for you. If you're using the free version, and that's fine, you can search that way as well. What you want to understand, though, is that you're looking to create relationships. A lead is just that. It's a lead. It is not somebody who's raising their hand and saying, I'm ready to buy. It's a suspect, not a prospect. So what you want to do is take them from that place of being a lead or a suspect into being a prospect or potentially a referral source. One of the things that people overlook often on LinkedIn is they're looking for the end user, when in fact what they might want to do is search for those people that already have their ideal client or customer and create a reciprocal relationship. So what that might look like, for example, is maybe you're a real estate agent, and boy, that's a tough one, right? Because they're everywhere. So you're not really going to find people that are looking to find a listing agent or a buying agent on LinkedIn, but guess what? There's lots of divorce lawyers, divorce mediators, estate planning attorneys. You can create relationships with those people, and they're the ones that are going to hear about the people that are going to be selling their home or looking to buy a home. And creating that relationship then makes them the one that they're going to make the referral to back to that real estate agent. So it's creating leads that are really relationships and thinking about, well, who has my target market? And the example I like to use is, why do we see Starbucks in almost every hotel lobby? Because the hotel knows that their guests want to come down and get Starbucks coffee.
Right.
It's a very captive market, right? Well, the same thing is really true of LinkedIn. If we connect with those people that we know have our ideal client but are not competing with us, then we can create relationships with people that we would otherwise really never be able to reach all over the world, not just the country, simply with a couple of clicks.
So how can you export the connections you have on LinkedIn and communicate with your connections offline? Because I know what I do a lot of times is when I know somebody, we connect on LinkedIn, eventually I'll say, might be easier to connect through phone call or email. So I say, my email is pattygraham@live.com. What's your email, so we can also connect in email. So what's the way to actually...
I love that. I love that, because there's actually a way on LinkedIn that when somebody has connected with you, they have basically said, we're now friends. So you can go to that part of your website, your profile, where it says My Network. And if you just click on My Network, it will actually show up with the part that says who your connections are, okay, so where your connections. And then there's a little, kind of looks like, that little setting thing, that little, I don't even know what you call it. It's just that little icon.
It's like a little gear, or it looks like a gear or a wheel.
Exactly. So you click on that little gear, and it will allow you to export your connections. Now, it will not do it with tags, which means that if you've gone through and put people into categories, so you have your speakers and your real estate agents and, whatever your categories are, it will not export that for you, but it will export into an Excel spreadsheet. So if you've tagged your clients, all you need to do is manually just get somebody to do it for you. Just put those categories next to that person on the Excel spreadsheet, and then you can segregate it out. But you can market to those people without it being spam, because they have already agreed to be your connection. Now, I always give them the option to opt out, but guess what? I have almost 5,000 connections. And I do a video email message to my entire list twice a month. Right. And I include everybody on LinkedIn. Now I have about a 19% open rate. And very few people opt out. It's a really low rate that opts out. But what has happened from it is I get a lot of comments, and then I'm able to look at the people that have opened it and then pick up the phone and call them and thank them for reading it and ask what they thought, and it opens a dialogue. So I've now taken it from online to a different form of online, meaning email. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Headliner, Headlinr, but Headliner is a very cool app that will give you headlines that will make people more likely to open your message, your email. It's a way that they test it and tell you what's more likely to get opened.
Okay. Interesting. So this has been a fascinating conversation. I learned so much from you when I met you a couple weeks ago. I've learned some more stuff again. We need to connect and get together for coffee someplace halfway between San Diego and Orange County, or just chat over the phone. So a couple things. I usually ask sort of at the end, Rhonda, you started out as paralegal and you've been around the business world for a while, and you've done a number of things, and what you're doing with LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. You're probably helping thousands of people connect better, build relationships, grow their businesses, all those kinds of wonderful things. But one of the questions I always ask is, if you were going to give advice to women that are listening in the audience, whether they be young women or women a little bit older, what do you think you've learned that you'd say? What's the one or two things that you've learned in your career that you'd pass on as your words of wisdom to other women?
I think one of the things I would tell people is be interested in other people. So when you meet somebody new, instead of asking that question, what do you do? Ask the question, what do you love about your life? You would be amazed at the conversation that will follow when you ask that question. And the other thing that I would recommend, and it comes from something that I did yesterday. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I'm a constant learner. And I actually listened to a book yesterday that told me that it really is the small things in life that make the biggest difference. Mm-hmm. And what I would encourage women to do really is to get this book called The Power of Small, because if you pick up one tip in that book that will help you, it'll change your life. Because what I say at almost every talk that I give is, people don't remember what you say and they don't remember what you do, but what they remember is how you made them feel. Yeah. So if every day you could practice just doing a random act of kindness or an unexpected acknowledgement of somebody, I think that will make more of a difference than anything you could possibly ever do.
That's one of my favorite quotes I use every time I teach a leadership or management course from Maya Angelou is, people won't remember what you said, people won't remember what you do, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think you've been a great guest today, so I want to thank you for being on our show today. I want to thank everyone for listening. We really appreciate your feedback. Again, my name is Patty Grimm. I'm an author, speaker, radio show host, trainer, coach, a whole bunch of things. You can contact me at pattygrimm@live.com, and that is PATTIEGRIMM at live.com, or you can reach me at 949-304-0800. And I want to hear from you, because you can contact me if you want to book me to speak at an event, a conference, workshop, or do a webinar for the women in your group, the women in your audience. I'd love to hear feedback on the show and help make the show be more relevant. So send me topics you'd like to hear about. You can check out my Facebook page, Women Kicking Glass. I post the shows there. I also post a lot of other things there. And you can also be a guest on my show, so contact me if you're interested in being a guest. Remember, you can buy my book, Quiet Women Never Change History, Be Strong, Stand Up, Stand Out, with the subtitle, Let's Go Kick Some Glass. You can get my book on Amazon, on Kindle, or in paperback. I'm working on an audio book, Rhonda. Each week, my goal is to bring you information, tips, and practical strategies you can put into place to live your best personal and professional life. Have a great week, and let's go kick some glass.
Thanks for listening to Women Kicking Glass, the only radio show on OC Talk Radio dedicated to empowering women to be the best they can be. Listen each week or download the podcast at patty.grimm.podbean.com. To reach out to Patty to schedule a speech webinar or to learn more about her leadership and team training, contact Patty at pattygrimm@live.com. For more information about her company and her books, have a kicking day.